What's up YouTube? ProTech here, back with another video for you today. Today I'm going to do a little video on Phnom Penh and my experiences and, you know, what my costs are and stuff like that, and just kind of give general information for people who are interested in coming here. I just kind of want to break it down, you know, dumb it down for people, because I know that when I was looking to make this move, there is a whole metric fuck ton of content out there that can get you confused, and sometimes they don't really tell you the right thing, you know, stuff like that. So the first thing we're going to talk about are expenses. For housing, I pay $250 a month for rent. I pay anywhere from $100 to $150 a month for electricity. I pay $5 a month for water, and I pay about $59 for 3 months of internet of 20 down, 30 up. So those are great numbers, right? But what I want you guys to realize is that a lot of the stuff that you'll read on the internet, it's kind of fluffed up, clickbaited, you know, stuff like that, right? You can find really good places such as mine for cheap, but I want you to consider the bullshit factors, okay? The bullshit factors are inaccessibility, having to climb up stairs, incredibly dirty outside of your room, you know, as long as you keep your room really clean, noisy neighbors, lots of noise outside, things of that nature. If you like the hustle bustle, living in BKK3, there's some of it, but not so much. Where I live personally is BKK3. It's considered the safest place in the area for foreigners. There's not a whole lot that goes on. It can get kind of noisy out there depending on, you know, what's going on, like public holidays or marriages or, you know, things like that. But there is a lot of noise. There is a lot of BS that's involved with, you know, getting in and out of the place. You really can't have things delivered, because I live on top of a shoe shop, right? At the bottom floor, they sell shoes down there. In the back rooms on the first floor, they produce the shoes. So there's a lot of heat that rises and comes into my apartment. Sometimes the floor is just incredibly hot. Second to that, there's no ventilation in the apartment. So what that means is when the sun hits its zenith, the sun is going to be coming down on my walls and it gets really hot. So the need to use your air conditioning unit all the time is why the rent is so low, because that number gets bumped up unless you can bear the heat, which a lot of people can. For me, I'm westernized. I lived in a way different climate. It's, you know, I was always in air conditioning in my house. I spend a lot of money in electricity every month. And I think one of the ways that you can avoid this is if you find an apartment that isn't like mine, right? See how it's open space like this? You know, if you could find an apartment that has kind of a smaller space for your living quarters, I think you could go a lot further with using less air conditioning. But yeah, I spend roughly about $400. My bill usually comes out to be about $400 a month for rent. Again, it's really low like that because of all the other bullshit factors. So do keep that in mind when you are looking for an apartment. And one of the websites that at least the website that I used to find this apartment was called Khmer24.com. That's how I found this apartment. But there are so many realtor companies out here that can't really tell you what's the best. There is no best. It's just, you kind of just have to get on Facebook. You just kind of have to get on the internet and do a little searching to find what you're looking for. Now, one of the things I'll tell you is that when you are looking for an apartment, one of the things to consider is that they are making what you see on the internet look a hell of a lot better than what it actually is, okay? So definitely keep that in mind when you're doing your searches for a place to live in Phnom Penh. So as far as food is concerned, this obviously is going to vary from person to person. If you want to do it cheap, you can. The thing I will tell you is that if you go out there and you start doing cheap food, you're going to start having a lot of body problems. I know I did. Gallstones, stomach aches, fevers, stuff like that. And what I was doing was I would go to these street vendors and I'd get this food for like $1, $2, you know, it'd fill me up, and it wasn't terrible. But I think one of the problems that I was running into is that a lot of these vendors out here, and once you do a little research, you figure this out, a lot of these privately owned vendors, they don't have a lot of business, which means they don't get rid of their old food, and they sell old bad food to people. And that's just how it goes. You know, we don't, here in Phnom Penh, there is no, well, I'm sure there probably is some form of FDA, but it certainly isn't enforced. I can tell you that for sure. So my suggestion is when you go out to get food, just make sure you're going to some place that has a lot of traffic, looks, you know, pretty well established, isn't like, you know, podunk garbage place. Not because the price of the food, but more about your health and, you know, keeping yourself safe. Places that are less successful, they don't throw out their old food, they sell their old food to people. So definitely keep that in mind. If you want to go cheap, you can. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. And you could spend anywhere from like $100 to $150 a month on food if you just eat all of the local street food and all that stuff. But you're probably going to find yourself sick. So my food bill personally comes out to be anywhere from $200 to $300 a month, depending on how much I eat. I go to, like, just down the street here, there's a mom and pop shop that I found, and it's a Japanese owned restaurant, and they sell just amazing food, and it's good, it's popular, there's a lot of people going in and out of there every day, and haven't had any problems since I started going there, right? Definitely stay away from this. You can do the street food, but I wouldn't do it all the time, because when I was doing it all the time, I definitely didn't feel good. So just keep that in mind. As if you're a smoker, cigarettes are very cheap. Of course, it depends on what kind you buy. If you buy the Marlboros, you're looking at about $2 a pack. It's close to $2 a pack. But to be honest, just the local brands are okay. You know, it's not, there's not too much of a difference. And you'll spend a lot less. You'll spend about half less, right? You can find packs of cigarettes out here for $1. Generally, the price for them are about $1.25, but that's definitely a lot better than the Western culture, right? So Phnom Penh is definitely a good place to go if you're a smoker. And then beer, very cheap. If you get the imports, you're looking at about $2 to $3 a bottle. That to me is too much. So oftentimes what I'll do if I want beer is when I go to a restaurant, I'll just get the draft beer, the Cambodian draft. And it's about 50 cents. So, and it's a lot of beer. You know, it's not like a small amount of beer. You know, it's in a 16-ounce glass or whatever. You know, cold. It's really good. Doesn't taste bad. But beer is definitely one of the good things and cheap when it comes to your alcohol needs. As far as liquors are concerned, I don't do much of it. I've done it a couple times, but you can find just any mart that you go to, you know, like a Circle K, or sometimes you'll go down these roads that have like these little shops that, you know, the people live on the top floors and they have a business down at the bottom. Sometimes you can go into those places and find alcohol for cheaper, but I would say it's anywhere from 8 to 13 so far from what I've bought. Liquors out here are anywhere from $8 to $13 per like big bottle of liquor, right? And you can find them cheaper, you know. I just tend to stay in that area because the alcohol just tastes better to me. As far as transportation is concerned, one of the things that I would highly recommend if you do plan on coming here is getting this app called the Pass app. Now, the reason this is important is because the tuk-tuk business or the taxi business out here in Phnom Penh is incredibly competitive, okay? That is not an understatement. That is not an exaggeration. It is incredibly competitive out here. So when a tuk-tuk driver gets you and reels you in, they are going to try to squeeze every single fucking dollar that they can out of you, right? And you want to stay away from that situation. And the ways that you can stay out of this situation is stay away from the tuk-tuks that look old, don't look professional, don't look modernized, right? you want to stay away from that, because those dudes, especially towards foreigners, are going to try to rip you off. Let me just give you an example. So before I started using the Pass app, I would take it, like if I ever needed to get any, you know, computer upgrades, I would go to the Aeon Mall, which is like in Phnom Penh, the Aeon Mall, place you go, right, for this kind of thing. Electronics, they've got food, they've got a cinema, you know, just it's just like any other Western mall, but in Phnom Penh, it's like the only one. The tuk-tuk rides would cost me on average about $3, right? And I would probably go there maybe 2 to 4 times a month. So, you know, I'm looking at anywhere from $6 to $24 just in tariff, just in transportation, right? And I couldn't figure out why the hell, because the information that I read before I came here was that tuk-tuk rides are supposed to be really cheap. Well, when I got here, that's not what it felt like, right? So as I've been here longer, I've figured out why, because I was using the wrong tuk-tuks. So now, since I have downloaded this Pass app, the Pass app users, the Pass app tuk-tuk drivers, they are required to use the meter, whereas the tuk-tuk drivers that privately owned, privately operated, they don't. So they just give you some arbitrary number that makes no fucking sense, right? So if you use the Pass app, they use the meter. So my bill to tariff, or to take a ride from where I live to the Aeon Mall, went from $3 to about $1.25. So that's a big difference. And if you're the kind of person that likes to get out and use, you know, go all over the place, it can really rack up if you use the wrong tariff. So before you come here, make sure you download this app called the Pass app. And there are various other ones, but Pass app is, I think it's by far the most popular out here. I think some other ones are called WeGo and, I don't know, Grab Me or something like that. Super, super important. Now, alternatively to this, you can also rent your own motorbike. I would stay away from it personally, and it's not that I don't feel as if I wouldn't be able to do it, but there's a couple of reasons why I wouldn't. One, it is fucking insanity on the road out here. It is insanity. It's chaos, okay? Nobody follows any rules. Nobody does anything they're supposed to. They don't give a shit about you. They just want to get from point A to point B, right? So naturally on the road, if you've got a bunch of fucking people who just want to get from point A to point B, you're going to run into problems, right? So personally for me, I stay away from it. I don't really tariff a lot. You know, I don't go around a lot, so it's not that big of a deal. But you're looking at, I think, I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to give you any numbers on what it costs to rent a motorbike out here because I'm not really sure. But if you travel a lot and you need to be on a motorbike a lot and you need to get from point A to point B a lot, then I would definitely do it, because you would end up saving money for sure versus using the tariff, using the taxis every day, right? So again, it really just kind of all depends on what your needs are. But the other thing I want you to consider is that if you are a foreigner on a motorbike, you are a target for the police. If you don't follow every goddamn rule to the T, they're going to pull you over. And this can turn into actually end up costing a lot more money, because if you're out on your motorbike, you get pulled over. If you don't want to get in trouble, you have to bribe the cop. And what I mean by that is oftentimes, I mean, and I don't have any experience with this personally, but a lot of the shit that I've read about this, you know, they just pay them $5 and they go away or whatever, right? But if this is happening, you know, 3, 4, 5 times throughout the course of the month, and, you know, that number is always going to be different. You know, sometimes it's $5, sometimes it's $10, sometimes it's $2, right? So you're just tacking on an unnecessary expense just because you're a foreigner and you're traveling around, right, on your motorbike. And then also the other thing to consider is that you're not really protected by the law. Okay, so if you, as a foreigner, as an immigrant, so if you go out there on a motorbike and you run into somebody or get into a collision or whatever, I mean, they oftentimes, you're not even going to get hurt. Like, you're at fault no matter what, especially if it's like, you know, a collision with a local or something like that. You know, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, that's up for debate, but that is how it is, and I would definitely not recommend going down the motorbike road unless you absolutely have to have transportation. Like, you move here, you get a job, or you find a place and then you get a job and your job's really far away, then yeah, I definitely would want to consider that. But other than that, I definitely wouldn't. If you just use the Pass app and the tuk-tuk drivers out here, it's really, really inexpensive. Now, of course, if you need to go a long distance, then yeah, it's going to be more expensive. But just taking a tuk-tuk to like a mart, you know, say you want to go to an international mart and it's not within walking distance, you're looking at like $1, maybe $2 for that day just to get from point A to point B. So that's what I would recommend, and that's my take on that. And then finally, we're going to talk about the visa. You know, when I originally came here, I did a lot of research on the visa, and I gotta tell you, man, the shit that you read about visas, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. You know, they always talk about how, oh, you're gonna get in trouble if you don't follow the guidelines to the T, this, that, and the other thing. It's just not true. Let me tell you what I did and what happened. I got off the plane. I went to immigration. They said, what visa you want? I said, the $35 visa. They gave me the $35 visa. A week later, I went to a travel agent, and I said, I want to stay here for a year. She said, okay. For $360, it's $290 for the visa, and then it's $70 for the services from the travel agency. And I got a year-long visa that is multiple entry. If I want to leave Vietnam or leave Cambodia to go to Vietnam, I can come back. I don't have to go through any process. None of that shit. Multiple entry, 1-year visa, $360. It's literally that simple. And I was told at the travel agency that when my year is up, if I want to stay again, all I need to do is go back to them and pay the price again, and then huzzah, I've got another year-long visa. It's literally that simple. You know, a lot of people try to save as much money as they can, this, that, and everything. But guys, remember, you're an immigrant. You are traveling. You are in somebody else's country. You don't have a say in anything. Don't try to bend the rules and cut corners and do this, that, and everything. Just go to a travel agency, pay the money, and be done with it. No headache, no nothing. Key point though, travel agency. Use their services. You will love me for it. Okay? And yeah, that's, you know, maybe just a couple things that I might have missed here. You know, you have to buy your water. Like, you don't want to drink the water. Don't drink the water. But you can buy, do I have a bottle here? I actually don't have a bottle here. Oh, yeah, actually I do. So you can buy 1.5 liter bottles for 60 cents. Now, I don't know how much you drink, but for me, I drink a lot of coffee, and I have a, you know, thing that heats up the water, and I can make this instant coffee. So I, you know, when I wasn't drinking coffee or anything else, I was going through about one of these a day, but now I'm only going through about half of them a day. So I mean, it just depends on how much water you drink, but these are 60 cents per. You want to make sure you get this. You do not want to drink the water here out of the faucets. Don't do it. Not worth it. Just go buy the water. It's 60 cents. And of course, you know, there might be some other things that I'm missing here, but this is the general outline of my experience and what it costs for me to live here. So thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you don't, hit the thumbs down. If you have any questions about Phnom Penh that maybe I didn't cover, or just any questions of your own, go ahead and put them in the comments section below, and I will definitely address them. You know, I'll write you back in the comments section, or, you know, whatever. So, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good day.